Everyone likes Tesla tanks and armored bears, right? Of course you do. EALA is bringing back Command & Conquer's celebrated Red Alert series this fall, and we're about to get a look at how it's coming along. Fargo, you want to take it away?
Absolutely. Well, we're very happy to have EALA here, and I understand you've got a demo set up. Now, the big unveil here at E3 is the new faction. You want to talk a little bit about the new faction and show us what you have?
Sure, absolutely. So at E3, we're really excited because what we're showing is actually part of our public beta, which hopefully will be going live sometime in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
And this is the first time that anyone could just sort of walk up and actually play live Red Alert gameplay, and for the first time, our third faction. Red Alert 3 has never had a third faction before, so this time we're introducing the Empire of the Rising Sun. And what we're seeing up here, granted at a little bit lower res than we're used to seeing it, but it is the Empire. And Amir here has created a couple of our transforming units first. These are the Tengus, which are pretty good light harassment units, good at fighting other things on land.
Kind of jets with feet is what I'm seeing here, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, and there's obviously that kind of Japanese mecha influence there. They're also amphibious, so you can see them going out over water. Navy's a crucial part of the Red Alert 3 experience. Okay. So these guys, though, in their current form are vulnerable to enemy aircraft. So if we come under attack from enemy aircraft, what we want to do is use our secondary ability to transform into their jet fighter form. So now these guys can engage other aircraft, but they can't fight things on the ground. Right. So
a little speedier, though, it looks like.
Definitely speedier. Definitely speedier. So part of the appeal of Red Alert 3 is that there's a tremendous amount of depth that comes from this. So it's accessible. You can get in, you can play quickly, but the more advanced players are going to get really good at sort of hitting transform at the right point.
Now, would you say this is good for a really advanced player because there's so many different things that the Rising Sun can do?
Yeah, and you don't have to be like a super advanced player to take advantage of these transformations, but as Amir actually rolls out the VX Striker / VX Chopper here, I think everyone, to be successful in the game, will learn how to transform these guys, but it's the pros who will learn to sort of consider what they're up against and at exactly the right time hit the transform button and kind of get that force composition exactly
Plan
right.
a strategy around it, yeah. What other units do we have here?
So there you saw the VX Striker, which has a similar mechanic, but when it's in its air form, it's good against going on ground units. And here we have really a top tier unit. This is the King Oni, and it's pretty much exactly what it looks like. It's a big, muscular, bruising mech, and they're expensive. You've got to get up to tier 3, but once you get there, these are the things that you take against those big enemy APOC tanks. Those
is up close and personal brawling.
Exactly, and remember how I said earlier, all of our units have a secondary ability, and as you might imagine from a unit that kind of just looks the way our King Oni does, his secondary ability is that sort of run and charge attack where he almost goes into that roadie run and he can slam into buildings and deal out a lot of damage. So taking on a bunch of King Onis, if you see them coming down the road, watch out. You're in big trouble there. So we have some tsunami tanks there. These are kind of the standard Japanese battle tank, but watch what happens here when Amir he's just going to run them into the water.
There they go.
And boom, you see that they transform into their amphibious form. And Navy is at the center of Red Alert 3. And what that means is we've got a lot of units that are amphibious. They can be effective on land. They can be effective in the water. And you couple that with the fact that we now allow base building out in the ocean, and we even take resources.
I see you've got a base built out here. Here you go.
Yep, we've got some power plants. We've got a mainframe core out there. And this really opens up a whole new dimension to the strategy, because now you've got to ask yourself, what is my opponent doing? Are they going to be mostly on land, mostly on water? And in fact, the Empire of the Rising Sun has a very effective naval force. Here's another one of our. Yeah, so this is the Sea Wing, and it's a submarine, and it can come to the surface and actually fight air units. But when we transform him, he now becomes an air unit. And he can now attack naval and ground forces. So this is just another example of one of those units that, depending on its current state, has different abilities, different capabilities, and advanced players are really going to, I think, delight in opening up the game that way.
Very cool. So as we're wrapping up, how would a Rising Sun player fight the other factions? Like, what would the overall strategy be?
Well, so they're really very flexible, and I think that's kind of the key thing they bring to the table. They have a unique build mechanic that allows them to expand very early on in the game. They are a very big naval power, so these destroyers that you see moving up here can do a pretty vicious offshore bombardment. But I think with the high technology that you see in those transforming units, a good mix of forces can make for pretty devastating attacks.
Seems like a really unpredictable opponent. Like if you're fighting Rising Sun, you don't know they're going to land from the sea. You don't know what they're going to do.
And I think it's a faction that actually rolls with the punches really well. They're very adaptable. So depending on what you see your opponent doing, you can transform into different alternative play styles.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well,
Great.
Fargo, excellent questions. Guys, excellent answers. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you at home, we will be back with more live demos shortly.